My name is Isadora, and my life story begins with the sweet scent of wheat flour and the acrid smell of a family feud. I grew up far inland, and my first love, Adam, belonged to a rival family. Our wedding day, which should have been the happiest of my life, was shattered by gunfire. Adam was shot. I thought I had lost him forever, and I was forced to flee to the big city, alone, pregnant, and with a broken heart. All I had left was the strength in my hands and a sacred inheritance: my grandmother's cake recipes. I arrived in the capital city with nothing but the clothes on my back and a borrowed oven. For 20 years, I sold my cakes on the street, under the scorching sun, dreaming only of a safe and prosperous future for my baby girl. I was unstoppable. People began calling me the Cake Queen. Over those 2 decades, I built a confectionery empire. Every single brick, every sack of sugar was for her. My daughter, Jade. Jade was perfection itself. My doll, my masterpiece. I shielded her from every hardship and every painful lesson I had learned. She attended the finest schools, wore designer clothes, and lacked for absolutely nothing. She was the reason for my relentless pride and my endless work, but the luxurious life I provided bred a monster. Jade didn't see the love woven into my fortune. She saw only the embarrassing grime of manual labor. She looked at me with a subtle, dismissive contempt, ashamed of my flour-dusted, work-worn hands. I dismissed the warning signs. I rationalized it all. It's just youth. It's just her modern ways. Then, a poison seeped into my life in the form of Ryan. He was handsome, smooth, from a seemingly respectable background, and he promised me love. I let him into my home, my business, and my heart. But Ryan was merely a parasite, a charming thief. What I failed to see was that his interest wasn't in me, but in my money, and he had a terrifying co-conspirator, Jade. Their plan against me was slow, methodical, and chillingly precise. Jade exploited my trust, convincing me to invest and modernize my assets by transferring shares and properties into her name. "It's for protection, Mom. Business is too complex for you to manage alone," she'd assure me. And I, the successful businesswoman who had conquered the market, became a fool, signing away my life's work, blinded by unconditional maternal faith. The betrayal by Ryan was already agonizing, but Jade's treachery was a fatal wound to my soul. I was living with 2 vipers under my roof, who feigned affection and loyalty while systematically dismembering my life. The emotional gaslighting was constant. They'd subtly mock my simple manners or my old-fashioned clothes. I suppressed the doubt, telling myself a mother must trust her child. I look back now and realize they were already celebrating their victory right in front of me. The final, devastating revelation hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't a confession. It was a slip-up, a cruel word, a shared look of contempt between them. Jade and Ryan, together, laughing at my gullibility, finalizing the last stage of their heist. The shock was deeper and colder than the bullet that had separated me from Adam all those years ago. The trauma left me paralyzed. The scene is burned into my mind forever. My daughter, my flesh and blood, stood before me in my own living room, her eyes colder than ice. "This house is mine, Mom. The company is mine. You are nothing. Get out," I pleaded. I argued. I appealed to our shared history, to the memory of her father. But there was no spark of humanity left in her. Greed had entirely consumed her soul. I was brutally thrown out with nothing but the clothes on my back. The glitz of the city became my personal wasteland. I was forced back onto the streets, back to selling cakes from a humble stand. But this time, the weight of public humiliation was heavier than any tray of sweets. People whispered, pointed, and laughed at the cake queen who had been destroyed by her own child. While I fought in the dirt, Jade lived her high life, squandering my fortune. She and Ryan didn't know the value of money they didn't earn. Their house of cards collapsed because anything built on deceit is destined to crumble. They turned on each other, their mutual greed tearing their partnership apart. I swore justice, but my vengeance was not primarily about the money. My true revenge was the pursuit of truth. I wanted Jade to understand the true cost of an honest life. She had betrayed me, but the law, true justice, and the undeniable merit of my hard work were stronger than her lies. I reclaimed my bakeries and my fortune. But the final heartbreaking blow was watching Jade face the consequences of her crimes. She lost everything, and the path of her own actions led her to prison. My empire was rebuilt, stronger and sweeter than ever. My heart, however, was shattered, but time began to mend it. Adam, my first and only true love, returned. We found that the bond between us had never truly been broken, and we were blessed with a new life, a second son. But the hardest task was forgiveness. In the end, I had to accept that my greatest failure was not the loss of my fortune, but the creation of such a cold, empty soul. My cake empire thrived again. The scar left by Jade's betrayal will forever be a silent reminder that sometimes the cruelest villain is hidden behind the face you love the most.